Theresa Caputo, a famous medium from Long Island, performed an unprecedented feat. She captured a spirit from a bride at a ceremony. However, Theresa immediately dismissed everyone from the ceremony so that she could speak to the spirit in private. Then she began a deep conversation with the spirit and found that an evil spirit was hovering around the bride. Theresa skillfully exorcised the evil spirit and freed the bride from the spirit. Later, Theresa gave an important message to everyone present. If they do not harm the soul, they will never harm anyone. Therefore, we should keep ourselves well and give others the opportunity to be well. Through this, she taught that living in peace and harmony keeps us all well. Once in a quiet, picturesque village on Long Island, a wedding was being held. The guests gathered in a beautiful chapel, their faces beaming with joy as the bride walked down the aisle in her flowing white gown. Little did they know, this wedding was about to become a moment of the extraordinary. Theresa Caputo, the famous medium, was present at the ceremony as a guest. She had been invited by a close friend of the bride, unaware that a strange force was lurking in the air. As Theresa watched the bride exchange vows with her groom, she suddenly felt a cold chill in the room. A sensation swept over her, something was off. Her intuition guided her, and with a quick glance, she saw a faint shadow behind the bride. It wasn't a regular presence, it was a spirit. Theresa's heart raced as she focused on the energy around her. She knew she had to act quickly. Without a word, she stood up and made her way toward the altar. The guests were startled when she spoke, her voice firm and commanding. "Everyone, please leave the room. There is something important I must do." The guests were hesitant at first, but they quickly sensed the urgency in Theresa's voice and, one by one, exited the chapel. The bride, confused yet trusting, stood by as Theresa approached her, looking directly into her eyes. "There's something you need to know," Theresa said softly. As the room cleared, Theresa began speaking to the spirit that lingered close to the bride. Her connection with the world beyond was strong, and soon the spirit revealed itself. It was an evil force, a shadowed presence that had attached itself to the bride, feeding on her fear and vulnerability. The spirit had come to cause harm, to twist her joy into sorrow. Theresa's calm, steady voice resonated through the air as she spoke words of peace, invoking protection and light. Her hands moved in graceful, deliberate motions as she channeled powerful energy, dispelling the darkness that clung to the bride's aura. It took only a few moments, but the air in the chapel seemed to lighten. The bride, who had been trembling moments ago, now stood still, her face softening with a sense of peace. As the spirit vanished, Theresa turned to the bride and spoke with a gentle tone. "You are free now, and so is your wedding day. But remember, the balance of your soul is a delicate thing. It must be nurtured with kindness, peace, and understanding." Theresa then turned to the guests who had returned to the chapel, now standing in awe. "There is an important message I must share," she continued. "If you do not harm the soul, you will never harm anyone. We must protect our own peace, for only when we are at peace within ourselves can we create peace around us. Harm only arises from fear, hatred, and unresolved anger. Live in harmony, live in love, and we will all be well." The bride, now calm and radiant, thanked Theresa with tears in her eyes. The groom held her hand tightly, both of them grateful for the gift of peace they had received on their wedding day. As the guests left the chapel, they carried with them a newfound understanding of the power of harmony. The wedding, which had almost been overshadowed by dark forces, became a celebration of light, love, and spiritual healing. And from that day forward, Theresa's words echoed in the hearts of all who were present. "Live in peace, and you will find peace." However, Theresa Caputo, the renowned Long Island medium, was known for her incredible ability to communicate with spirits. She spent her days delivering messages from loved ones to those in need of closure. But what people didn't know was that sometimes the spirits had a way of connecting with her in ways no one could have expected. One afternoon, as Theresa sat in her kitchen, sipping a cup of coffee, a sudden warmth filled the room. It wasn't just the sun peeking through the window, but something more. A presence, a familiar one. Theresa's heart skipped a beat. She had been feeling this energy lately, a soft, loving presence lingering in the air. It was as if a part of her own soul was being tugged gently. Her grandma. Grandma, Theresa whispered, looking around the room, hoping for a sign. Suddenly, the kitchen light flickered, and the faint sound of a melody began to drift through the air, like an old lullaby Theresa's grandmother used to sing when she was a child. The tune was sweet and comforting, familiar but distant, like the echo of a memory long forgotten. Theresa smiled, her eyes filling with tears. It was as though her grandma was reaching out, wanting to remind her of the bond they shared. Theresa closed her eyes, and for a moment, she could almost feel her grandmother's arms around her, the same warmth she had felt as a little girl. She could hear her soft voice singing the words she hadn't heard in years. But then the voice shifted. It wasn't just her grandma's. It was as if a choir of voices surrounded her, and among them was her grandmother's voice, strong and clear. "Theresa, you have the gift," her grandma's voice echoed in the melody. "You're not just a medium, you are the bridge, and we are always with you, singing our love to you." Theresa's heart swelled with emotion as she realized what her grandma was trying to tell her. The spirits she communicated with were not just messages waiting to be heard, they were songs waiting to be sung. The melody continued to fill the room. Theresa felt a surge of energy. It was as if her entire being was being filled with light and love, all from the spirit world. For the rest of the day, Theresa found herself humming the song her grandmother had shared with her. It was as though her grandma had given her the most beautiful gift, an affirmation of her abilities and the love that transcended time and space. From that day on, Theresa always carried a little piece of that song with her, knowing that the spirits she communicated with were never truly gone. They were always singing their love, just waiting to be heard. And so, Theresa Caputo, the Long Island medium, continued her work, not just as a messenger, but as a singer of the souls who were always with her, always singing. However, it was a warm Saturday afternoon, and the Romano family had planned a simple family outing to the local shopping mall. They were a close-knit family, and weekends were often spent together, browsing stores and grabbing lunch at their favorite diner. Little did they know, this outing would turn into something much more unforgettable. As they walked through the bustling mall, a familiar face appeared in the crowd. Theresa Caputo, the famous Long Island medium, was out shopping too, dressed casually in a cozy sweater and jeans, blending in with the rest of the shoppers. The Romano family, not expecting anything unusual, continued their way towards a department store when suddenly, Theresa caught sight of them. Something about the family stood out to her, and it wasn't just their warm smiles or laughter. As she passed them, she felt a sudden, overwhelming presence of energy. She hesitated for a moment, sensing something, or rather someone, trying to get her attention. Theresa stopped in her tracks, turning to face the family. "Excuse me," she said softly, but with confidence. "I know this might sound strange, but I'm a medium, and I feel a strong presence from the other side, trying to reach someone here. Is there anyone here who's recently lost a loved one?" The Romano family, a bit taken aback, exchanged curious glances. The father, Tony, spoke up. "Well, my wife's mother passed away a few months ago, but we didn't expect this today." Theresa nodded, her eyes softening as she looked at Tommy's wife, Maria. "Your mother is here, Maria," she said gently. "She's been watching over you, especially these past few weeks, and she has something she wants you to know. She's telling me that you've been feeling lost and unsure about some big decisions you've been making." Maria's eyes welled up with tears. "I've been trying to figure out whether to move to a new house. It's been hard. I've been missing my mom so much." Theresa placed a comforting hand on Maria's shoulder. "Your mom wants you to know that you're not alone. She's been by your side through it all, and she's telling me that it's okay to take the leap. Trust yourself and trust her guidance. She's proud of you." The entire family stood in stunned silence, the weight of the moment settling in. As Theresa continued to speak, the energy around them seemed to shift. Maria felt an overwhelming sense of peace, as though her mother was right there beside her, reassuring her. As the reading came to an end, Theresa smiled warmly at the family. "Sometimes, the universe has a funny way of bringing us the messages we need when we least expect them," she said. "Take care of yourselves, and remember, love never dies." With that, she gave them one last comforting nod and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. The Romano family stood there for a few moments, absorbing the significance of what had just happened. For Maria, the surprise reading had brought a sense of closure and comfort she hadn't realized she needed. As they continued their shopping trip, the air felt lighter, and Maria's heart felt a little less heavy. The unexpected surprise had turned an ordinary family outing into an unforgettable moment of connection and healing. However, it was a chilly autumn morning when Theresa Caputo walked into her office, a place where countless lives had been touched by her extraordinary gift. But today was different. Today, she was about to meet someone who would change her path forever. Theresa had been doing readings for over 2 decades, but she always had this lingering feeling that her gift wasn't just about offering messages from the other side. It was about finding her own connection, her own truth, but she didn't know what that meant, not yet. She sat down at her desk, the familiar scent of lavender oil and sage filling the room. The door creaked open, and in walked a man named Larry, a middle-aged man with a warm smile, but a look in his eyes that suggested he carried burdens heavier than most. He had heard about Theresa's abilities through a friend, and after a bit of hesitation, decided to seek her out. "Hello, Theresa," Larry said, his voice slightly trembling. "I'm not sure what to expect, but I've heard incredible things about you." Theresa gave him a reassuring smile. "It's okay to be nervous. Most people are when they first come in. Just relax, and let's see what comes through." She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, focusing on the energy in the room. Immediately, she felt a strong presence, almost like a pull from a place beyond this world. But it was not a typical feeling. There was something different about this one. She opened her eyes and looked directly at Larry. "There's someone here for you," she said softly. "A woman and motherly figure. She's been waiting for a long time to speak to you." Larry's eyes widened. He swallowed hard. "My mom, she passed away years ago, but she was never really able to say goodbye." Theresa nodded, feeling the emotional weight in the air. "She's telling me that she's always been with you, watching over you, guiding you through the tough times. But there's something else, Larry. She's concerned about you, about a choice you made recently, something that's been weighing you down." Larry's face grew pale. I made a decision that I thought was for the best, but now I don't know. I feel lost." Theresa's gaze. She felt a strong presence, almost like a pull from a place beyond this world. But it was not a typical feeling. There was something different about this one. She opened her eyes and looked directly at Larry. "There's someone here for you," she said softly. "A woman and motherly figure. She's been waiting for a long time to speak to you." Larry's eyes widened. He swallowed hard. "My mom, she passed away years ago, but she was never really able to say goodbye." Theresa nodded, feeling the emotional weight in the air. "She's telling me that she's always been with you, watching over you, guiding you through the tough times. But there's something else, Larry. She's concerned about you, about a choice you made recently, something that's been weighing you down." Larry's face grew pale. I made a decision that I thought was for the best, but now I don't know. I feel lost." Theresa's gaze softened as she listened to the voice of Larry's mother, who was now speaking with urgency. "She says you need to trust yourself. You're more capable than you believe. You've been doubting your instincts, but you're on the right path. She's proud of you." Tears welled up in Larry's eyes as he processed the words. I never thought I would hear her voice again. Thank you. Theresa smiled, a wave of peace washing over her. But as the reading ended, she felt something stirring within her. It wasn't just the joy of helping Larry reconnect with his mother. It was the realization that perhaps her gift was about more than just messages, it was about healing. And in that moment, she understood her true calling. As Larry left the office, still wiping away tears of gratitude, Theresa sat back in her chair, reflecting on the encounter. It wasn't just a typical reading. It was the beginning of her own journey of understanding her gift on a deeper level. And though she had helped many people before, this moment with Larry was a turning point. There was an untold truth in her work, a truth she had yet to fully grasp, that her readings weren't just about speaking to the departed, but about helping the living find peace within themselves. And perhaps, in helping others, she would eventually find her own. However, Theresa Caputo, the famous Long Island medium, had just finished a session with a new client in her cozy reading room. Her energy was high, as always, and she was excited to share the messages from the spirit world. But today was different. Her best friend, Lisa, had come along, but she wasn't there for a reading. She just wanted to be a support for Theresa. Little did she know, she would be pulled into the experience herself. Theresa sat down across from Lisa, looking at her with a warm smile. "You sure you're okay just sitting here?" she asked. Lisa chuckled nervously. "Yeah, I'm fine, but I'm not really into all this medium stuff. I'll just watch." Theresa nodded but could sense a little apprehension in her friend's voice. She understood, not everyone was ready to experience what she could see so easily. But before she could say another word, her eyes widened and she went still, as if the energy in the room had shifted. "Wait," Theresa said, her voice dropping low. "I'm getting something. There's a woman here. She's standing next to you, Lisa." Lisa froze, her face going pale. "What? No way." Theresa smiled reassuringly. "It's okay, she's here with love, not to scare you. I'm sensing she's connected to your mom's side of the family, a grandmother, perhaps." Lisa felt her stomach turn. She'd never wanted to connect with the spiritual world, and yet here she was, facing something she couldn't explain. She tried to shake it off, but Theresa's expression grew more intense. "She's saying, she's proud of you. She wants you to stop holding back. You've been afraid of making changes, but it's time, she's guiding you." Lisa's heart raced. Her mind couldn't process what was happening. "Theresa, I can't handle this." Theresa, sensing Lisa's discomfort, tried to soothe her. "It's okay, you don't have to do anything you're not ready for. Just take a deep breath." But Lisa stood up abruptly, her chair scraping loudly across the floor. "No, I can't do this," she said, backing away. "I didn't sign up for this." Theresa watched as her friend hurried toward the door, clearly overwhelmed. She felt a wave of sadness, but she understood. Not everyone was prepared for such an intense experience. Lisa opened the door, ready to leave. "I'm sorry, I can't handle this right now." Theresa's voice was gentle but firm as she called out. "It's okay, Lisa. You don't have to believe right now. But the message still stands. You have love and guidance around you. Just remember that." Lisa hesitated, looking over her shoulder for a moment, but then left, the door closing behind her with a soft thud. Theresa sat in silence for a moment, reflecting on what had just happened. Sometimes, she knew, people weren't ready for the truth or the connection that could change their lives. But she believed that, even if Lisa wasn't ready today, the message would stay with her, just like the spirit world's love and energy always did. Hello lovely viewers, welcome to my channel. I am Mina. Hope your day is so well. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe the channel.